People have always been amazed and curious about what's out there in the dark and full of stars. In 1609, Galileo was the first person to write down observations of the sky with the help of a telescope. This helped explain some of the mysteries of the great unknown. The first person to go into space was a Soviet cosmonaut in 1961. Now, people who are not astronauts are being sent to the edge of the Earth's atmosphere for fun. The most time an astronaut has ever spent in space at once is 437 days. But the space community has big ideas about how people could live in space and on other planets like Mars in the future. To reach this out-of-this-world goal, scientists are trying to figure out how to keep people alive in space without expensive and time-consuming deliveries of supplies. Plants could be a way to get food to places thousands of miles away from Earth. Growing food in space stations would not only add to a healthy diet, but it would also remove harmful carbon dioxide from the air inside the spacecraft and make oxygen, which is needed for life. Let's find out what some of the problems are with growing plants in space and how the solutions can be used on Earth as well.
Other scientists have also been studying plant growth on the space station to unlock the secrets of successfully growing plants in this novel environment. Roots seek water and nutrients by growing away from where they're planted. To determine which direction to grow, terrestrial plants use. Recently, the ISS has been home to some impressive harvests, yielding tasty snacks for crew members. However, scientists.
It's very hard to grow plants in space. Since the 1960s, people who work in space have been trying to do it. Before we look at some of the problems with growing plants in space, let's look at some of the things that affect how well plants grow and live. On Earth, plants grow in response to gravity and light. Gravity pulls the roots down into the soil and helps the stem find its way, while light pulls the stems up. Without gravity or enough light, plants don't know where to grow in space. Seeds can also float away in low gravity if they're not attached to the surface where they're growing. The distribution of water in space is also hard to control. Because fluids in space tend to form bubbles, the water clumps up and could drown the plant roots or engulf them in air.
Here is the Veggie Unit, the advanced plant habitat on the International Space Station.
All plants need light, air, water, a source of nutrition, and optimal temperature. But growing plants is different in space.
So we have to create that artificially, and we can do that with LED lights, which can give you very specific wavelengths of light, and you can mix them to make.
Or, if the water completely floats away from the roots, the plant won't be able to do photosynthesis, which will cause it to wilt and die. Space is often very dark. Plants need light to grow, and most plants on Earth get plenty of light from the sun. They grow toward the light, and they get their energy from the sun, water, and oxygen. Putting on lights in space takes a lot of power, and the space station doesn't have much of it. Some light bulbs also give off a lot of heat that needs to be removed from the spacecraft. Because of these things, it's important to think about the lighting in the growth chambers in space. People are making special lights for plants that don't use as much electricity. The small space of a spaceship is very different from the wide areas of farmland on Earth. The size of growth containers has to be small, but they have to be very useful. The best things about a growth system are automation and the ability to control watering, humidity, lighting, airflow, and the delivery of nutrients. Researchers are trying to make stacked containers for growing plants and vegetables that take up less room and can grow a lot of different kinds of plants and vegetables at the same time. Imagine going to your space garden and picking a ripe, juicy tomato and a juicy chili to put on your tacos after eating freeze-dried or prepackaged food for months. Adding fresh produce has been a good way to improve the health of astronauts. Give them vitamins and minerals they need and add flavor and variety.
Enough that the food would actually be safe for the crew to eat. So we're working right now with the Advanced Environmental Health and the food folks to key in on different stimuli. So in the absence of gravity, the shoots grow towards the light. And on Earth, shoots grow towards the light. So in Veggie, we have the lights on them frozen in Melfi in the -80 laboratory freezer on ISS, and then brought back on SpaceX 4. So we got those back.
Variety and flavor are important because our senses of taste and smell change when we're in places with low gravity. Long-term space missions in the future will need a source of fresh food that can be used over and over again. It keeps astronauts from getting tired of eating, not getting enough food, and losing weight. At the moment, astronauts grow plants in closed boxes with low-energy LED lights, porous clay soil, and roots that get water, nutrients, and oxygen. The health of plants is checked with high-tech sensors and cameras. Plants did not evolve to grow in a box and use energy and resources resources to prepare for changes in light, temperature, and disease, which would limit their full growth potential. So there's a lot of room for plant genetics to be changed so that food crops like tomato, carrot, spinach, and strawberry grow faster and can be picked and eaten right away. These plants are made to do their best work in closed, controlled environments.
By Commander Steve Swanson when he was up there, and everybody really enjoyed growing the plants from the responses that we've heard. We did have...
Hey, welcome once again. This is NASA at Home Spaceport Series. I am your host, Joshua Santora. I would traditionally be coming to you live from the Kennedy Space Center, but with today's current...
Future ways to grow plants in space will have to be self-sufficient. That means recycling water and food, along with all the other systems on a space station or a base on the moon or Mars. All parts of plants will need to be turned into food, compost, or useful things like fuels and plastics. Plants can get nutrients from human waste, like urine, but they also have to be able to handle the salty water that comes with it. But there's one plant that might be a good choice for the job. You might not be able to buy duckweed at your local grocery store, but this fast-growing plant could be in all space gardens. This is because it can grow well in recycled water and has no waste because the whole plant can be eaten. In just 2 days, duckweed gains twice as much weight. It's always being picked and is full of protein, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Only a few important things are missing, such as vitamin B12 and D, which would make it a good source of complete nutrition for humans. Scientists could use recent advances in genome editing, gene regulation, and ways to look at nutrients as a solution. So, they could change duckweed and other plants to get the best growth, the least waste, and the most nutrition out of them. Scientists could use these methods to create new plants with proteins that are perfectly balanced for humans to digest and use. They could also make healthy plant oils to give them more energy and soluble fiber to improve the health of their gut and heart. Trying to learn more about space has given us a lot of things we use every day.
And everything we do up here involves a lot of planning and having backup systems and methods to handle things. When I first arrived at the space station on the Soyuz...
to the spaceflight environment. Our findings will also help us understand how plants might respond to new and challenging environments here on Earth.
Boxes are different rooms. This here was microtina tomato. This one here is a bell pepper. And here we have some cucumber. Don't eat it now.
Researchers aren't yet sure what purpose this serves, but they intend to find out with additional experiments.
We can expect that the inventions we make to help humans live and work in space will bring multiple and important benefits to Earth's sustainability. This includes a supply of food and biomaterials on demand. Experts from all over the world, such as plant biologists, engineers, food chemists, psychologists, sensory experts, nutritionists, ethicists, and legal experts are working together to reach these two goals. A new limit to what people can do is coming up. Soon, people will not only be amazed by the night sky, but they'll also be able to travel places beyond our own atmosphere, and by doing so, planting the seeds for a new way of living on Earth and beyond. Bottom line, astronauts will be able to grow their own food on the moon and Mars thanks to a space garden. What a world we live in!